Hey guys, I'm Shorty Supercoach, and you're listening to the Centre Bounce.
Nice. Hey Shorty, thanks for coming on the channel today. Really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well.
No worries, mate. Yeah, no, thanks for asking. How you travelling?
No, I'm doing good. Last day of being stuck inside, so I'm happy to get out.
Yeah, I know those feelings. It's not too much fun on day 6 or 7.
No, definitely. And it's like you get your negative tests back, and it's just like, oh man, just let me out early, right?
Yeah, I know. It takes a while, but you'll be a happy man in a day or two.
Yeah, definitely. And footy's back soon too, so I'm glad I'm not stuck inside for that.
Yeah.
So just getting started, do you mind just telling people like who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing Supercoach and what team you go for?
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, look, I've been just doing my channel, Shorty Supercoach, for probably 5 or 6 years now, and just tried to build on it every year. But I'm a Cats fan, sort of live down in Geelong, so no surprises there. And I've been doing Supercoach for a bit longer than the channel, obviously, since sort of high school days. But it's been good so far.
Yeah, I'll have to say, you're one of the people that kind of got me into Supercoach all those years ago. Be like back in the day, there's only 2 or 3 real Supercoach people making content, and your stuff was definitely there. Yeah.
Oh, no way. That's awesome. No, I appreciate that, mate, because it's I remember when I first got into it, I was like, gee, there's not many, because I initially went looking for some stuff, probably like you did, and I was like, there's not much here. I might just start recording some stuff, and like now it's awesome. There's lots of different channels and things, but which is great for the community and that.
Yeah. No, something we were talking off air about my recording with Supercoach Mama, and one of the things that she brought up as well was just the amount of content in general has just exploded online, and people are seeing so much more than maybe what they had done in previous years, and it's not just like a Herald Sun article anymore that's where you get your information from. There's so much from yourself, from me, from a lot of the other guys too.
Oh, it's crazy, mate. Like I think back and probably going back 8-10 years, you could be onto something like a player or someone that played well in a scratch match, and you could, if you did your research, you could know it, and some of your mates wouldn't. But that's impossible now. So it's a different game, and you see very similar sides across the board for that reason. It's very saturated.
Yeah, there's definitely not that many people taking pod picks anymore in their Supercoach starting teams, because what do you know that I don't know, really?
Yeah, and it can go so wrong if you get that one wrong, it can really cost you.
Definitely true. I know some dodgy starting picks I did last year kind of set me back for the whole year, so that's not going to happen this year, hopefully.
Yeah, good.
We'll see, but do your best.
I'm hoping the same. Yeah, I had a couple of stinkers, like Jordan Clark killed me, Hayden Young killed me, so hopefully none of those.
Dom Tyson, so
yeah. Oh,
he
last year was tough, I reckon, like with injuries as well, and very tough.
So are there any big takeaways you've got from your Supercoach season last year that you're trying to implement in this year? Any things you're kind of worried about or anything like that?
Probably just trying to do a bit more of what we were just mentioning, and probably not shake it up too much. Probably the number one thing would be set and forget in the ruck. I probably haven't done that for a couple of years, trying to save some money, and it just hasn't worked. It's kind of backfired big time, and it's really set me back. So just trying to keep it a bit simple. Guns and rookies. Our rookies are a bit scarce this year, but
definitely
just trying our best.
So you've jumped off the Wits train. I saw you had them in a few of the earlier team videos. You've jumped off the Wits train now?
Yeah, that's it. Like I initially was sort of optimistic, and then I was kind of like, hang on a sec, this got you last year, got you the year before. Wits might be a handy pick, but I was like, nah, just Brody Grundy, mate. it's repetitive, but it works more often than not.
and it's the extra captain option too, right? Like,
yeah,
you're missing out on Gawn, who's probably going to score 130 every week if he's having a normal day. So missing out on that's pretty important too.
That's it.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the preseason games?
Yeah, I've watched quite a few. Like, got the KO going, and pretty much, like, I work most Sundays, so it's either on the radio or on KO. Definitely didn't get around to all of them, but sometimes there were games where I was like, I'll just watch a quarter here and there, particularly for Supercoach. Like, you sort of want to see if a guy's lining up in a certain position. So yeah, like we were saying, it's great to have footy back, even if it's just a practice game. It's good to have it back.
Yeah, I found a lot with the preseason games too. It's probably the first half that's the most important before players start getting rested, because you'll have a premium that does well, and then some rookie out of nowhere scores like 100 because all the good guys have been out of the team, and it's just like, why did this guy do this? So
you definitely start to notice when so they're kind of resting a few of the big dogs.
Definitely.
Now that the younger fellas getting to go in sort of late in the third quarter and all that.
Has any team really impressed you in the preseason? Like someone that you didn't think, they're not going to do well this year, they're actually doing really well, or they look pretty solid?
Yeah, I reckon probably Carlton is a team that I've probably been really impressed by, I must say. Like, and I know we'll sort of touch on sort of how our top 8 and that sort of thing looks, and I see them as a bit of a bolter. I think those additions, particularly to the midfield, and you get Curnow back, and he'll only get better as he gets fitter. So I probably really liked what I've seen from them, and I think Fremantle as well. Like, they're still quite young, but I just get the sense that they're building pretty well too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Richmond would probably be one for me too. Guys that weren't in the top 8 this year. They just look so solid. I don't know if you caught any of the game, but Noah Bolter up forward is just nasty.
Yeah. Well, I saw because they were down at Geelong, obviously playing Geelong, and I went along to that, and they did look really pretty dangerous. And Bolter's one of those guys that you could just about flick him anywhere, can't you? So I think he could be a different sort of threat to them. And Dusty, was back almost pure midfield. So that's a bit of danger for anyone. He missed a fair chunk last year. So they'll be looking to get back.
No, definitely. They're one of those sides that I don't think Hardwick would probably allow them to be in the middle for too long. He's going to do as much as he can to really, really push them up.
Yeah, that's it. They just know, they still know how to win, even though they got away from it a little bit last year. You just, you're right. You get the sense they'll be in the mix for sure.
Yeah. So I've got you on today to do some predictions for this year. And thanks obviously for coming on. So I'm just going to pull up the ladder from last year, and we're just going to talk about who do you think maybe are going to get pushed out, who do you think are going to come up, and things like that. So let me just pull up the screen.
Yeah, sounds
So just speaking about the top 8, obviously last year we saw a lot of teams almost make it in. So if you have a look between basically position 6 to 11, it's only 2 games, right? It's pretty close. So are there any teams in there that you think may push up into the top 8 and some teams that maybe will go down? What's kind of your prediction for the top 8 this year?
Yeah, like when we were talking beforehand and just how we were going to sort of run the session today, I thought I better have a good think about the top 8, because that's probably one that, you can't fit 10 into 8 sort of thing, or 11. And that's kind of how I found myself looking. I was like, gee, I've got to try and narrow this down. So I think from just looking here, I feel as if from outside the 8 point of view, I can honestly see Richmond and Carlton jumping into it. To be honest, I probably could see West Coast sliding a little. That probably comes as no big surprise with their chaos of a off season.
Yeah, definitely.
I think maybe even Port Adelaide. I did my ladder before, and I didn't have them in the top 4. So Yeah. How did you want to hear me top 8 just
Yep.
yet? Or?
I want to hear your top 8. Let's go for it.
Yeah. All right. So I had the Dogs,
Mm-hmm.
Melbourne, Brisbane, and Geelong rounding out the top 4.
Okay.
And then I had Sydney in 5th, Port Adelaide down to 6th, Carlton and Richmond. So
okay.
I found it pretty tough to order, but
Mm-hmm.
I ended up being pretty happy on the 8 in general. Yeah.
So
what about yourself?
What's that from this year? So no Giants and no Essendon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I kind of found, like, I'm fairly optimistic on them as, you know, good teams, but I just thought somebody has to kind of get squeezed out. So it's tricky, isn't it? 10 into 8 doesn't quite work.
No, definitely. So who do you have for the bottom 4 then, if we go down? So last year, North, Collingwood, Gold Coast and Adelaide were there. Who have you kind of got as your picks?
I didn't have a massive difference. I think the only difference of that bottom 4 would be Gold Coast leaving it and Hawthorn coming into it. If I just have a look here, I had Collingwood 15th, Adelaide 16th, Hawthorn, and then North Melbourne. Like, I found myself almost like process of elimination, and it just came down to North Melbourne as the wooden spoon. But I actually sort of love what they're doing. Like, so I sort of don't feel quite comfortable picking them as a wooden spooner, but they're probably just inexperienced, you know? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How are you seeing it? Do you got any bolters? Or
as a North fan, I'd like us to move up the ladder a bit more.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with what you're saying. It's definitely, I don't know if the season or the competition has ever been this even, almost. Yeah. Like, you've got a couple of teams that are really good, but on any given day, a Collingwood could beat Richmond, you know, or could beat Freo or St Kilda, or, you know, even Gold Coast. You know, they won a couple of their preseason games, right? So on any given day, anyone could be that close. I think you're probably right. I'm going to stick my neck out and probably say North, Collingwood, Gold Coast, Adelaide and Hawthorn. So that top 5 are going to make up the top, you know, the bottom 4. But I don't think I've got really a prediction for who's the wooden spoon team. I think West Coast probably could, if they've got a couple more injuries and players out, but they will fall down the ladder quite a bit. How do you see them doing this year?
Yeah, well, I probably would have had them, like, if we did this yesterday, I reckon they might have been in the bottom 4. But I must admit, like, hearing the news that Jack Darling, you know, is on board with the vaccination and we should see him at some stage in the first month by the sounds of it, I felt like that was pretty big. So on the ladder, I had them 14th. So I had them dropping, but I still feel like, you know, that home ground advantage, it does allow them to get a fairly decent shot at winning, you know, at least a handful of games minimum. So definitely falling away though. They've had a shocker preseason, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. And their age profile as well. Obviously, being a Geelong fan, you kind of understand, but their midfield, they need a lot more kids playing through the team. And I feel like they have a lot of established players, and it's making it quite hard for them to get that talent coming in, which they desperately need. Because, you know, if Shuey's fit, he's not going to play in the reserves league. The same with Yo and all those guys. But maybe they kind of have to get that rejuvenation going.
And they're kind of some of the fears I have with, like, the Cats, mate. Like you said, you know, you got to find a way to just sprinkle some youth every now and then, I guess.
Yeah.
Or else, if you don't, then a big cliff's coming for you. And I feel like West Coast is, you know, potentially getting closer and closer to that cliff edge.
Definitely.
And if my Cats don't play some youngsters, we'll be falling off one too pretty soon.
I think Chris Scott will be gone by then. You'd think so, right?
Honestly, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. If I have to put you on the spot and pick a wooden spooner for 2022, who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, look, I'd have to go North. Apologies. But
that's all right.
Yeah. I honestly love their young midfield that's coming through, but I think it's pretty young. So I could see them really spiking in a year or two. But for now, I was probably tossing up between them and Hawthorn, I guess.
Yeah. Just kind of an experience thing more than anything else.
Yeah, like there's probably only 4 clubs that you'd say are rebuilding, which is kind of unique. Like you said at the start, it's such an even competition. There's not too many teams that are kind of redeveloping, but yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So we've spoken about who's going to get the wooden spoon. Who are your 2 picks for the grand final this year?
This is really tricky. So, and I'm not even sure if I'm 100% on what I truly believe just yet. So I had Brisbane as my premier.
Okay.
So that's even though I had them 3rd on the ladder, I think if they can overcome some of these finals issues that they've had, I reckon they're right in it. So I had them beating Melbourne, without giving it too much thought. I just felt Dogs, Brisbane, Melbourne.
Yeah.
Probably felt were just a smidgen clear of the rest when I looked at it. Yeah.
Okay. So Brisbane's winning. Who's going to be second? Who are they going to play?
Yeah, I reckon they'll beat the D's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll be the D's.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it's such a boring answer to say,
Of course.
the reigning premier. But I was like, I agree. I'm looking at them going, this is a tough side to beat. Yeah. Who do you reckon will win the flag? Do you have a tip?
I'm going to say Melbourne again. You saw how they were pretty dominant getting into the grand final, and they've got a lot of players who will turn the game on when they need to. And I think that's probably the scariest bit is that they've got, your Petrarca, your Oliver, even like a Ben Brown. He's had games where he's kicked 6. So they've got enough players where they can just turn it on. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, as they say. So they're going to make it into the grand final. They're not going to give it up and make it easy for the other team.
And they're in that window, aren't they? So many
definitely.
of their guys are just like perfect age category of like playing their best footy. So they're a scary proposition.
And the team's just getting better too. Like it's not like anyone's left the team or anything like that. I don't know if you caught the preseason games, but even like a Cozzy Pickett was playing in the middle, and he played a lot of middle, and put that in the team, and they just look even better. So
that's a scary thought. Yeah, isn't it?
So talking about the Brownlow, who do you think is going to win the Brownlow, and who do you think is going to be close?
Yeah, I probably was sticking with a bit of a Melbourne flavour here. If I had to say a Brownlow winner, I would say Petrarca.
Okay.
I just think, he's such a dynamic player and so eye-catching. And look, his teammate Oliver will be right in there too, of course. Look, I am sensing a bit of a return to really good form from Paddy Cripps. I think, coinciding with me feeling like they'll win a few more games, I think there might be a few more 3-vote chances for Paddy. Obviously, Walsh will be in there too, but I think there are a couple of names. The Brownlow these days is just dominated by your superstars, though. So
definitely.
Bont will be up there, and probably Ollie Wines will back it up
Max
again
Gawn
and be
a
close.
few other players too.
Yeah. So the stars just seem to attract the umpire's attention more and more.
It's a bit hard too because previous winners seem to be players who are the best player on a team that doesn't have a lot of players similar. So like, who's going to be taking points off Ollie Wines really at Port Adelaide to win? I'll say the same with Fife and other players too, is that they're really good, but it's not like they're sharing the midfield with 4 other superstars that are going to pinch points off them every week. So if you're saying someone like a Petrarca or an Oliver, I might go the other way. I might say, who am I going to pick? You put me on the thing here.
like a Jack Steele or something.
Maybe
the main man.
Maybe like a Jack Steele, or even like a Dusty Martin. Maybe he might come back into form, and they'll give him another one before he retires. So Yeah, if he's going to carry Richmond to a few games, it could happen, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's an interesting point, isn't it? Because like the doggies, you know, we saw last year there was such a spread of votes between, say, Bont, McRae, Dunkley, even Liverpool. Okay, and so they help each other play well, but occasionally they can pinch the odd vote or two.
Yeah, and it's like Bont and McRae might get the votes for that week, but one week McRae's getting 3, and next week the Bont's getting 1, and vice versa. So it's not like someone's getting all of the votes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got the Rising Star. Who's your pick for the Rising Star this year?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be a bit boring here and just go with Nick Dacos.
Okay.
I just was so impressed by what I saw, what I heard. It just looked like he was just impacting games like a bloke who'd already sort of had 50, 60, 70 games under his belt. So he would be my tip. But definitely, you know, someone like a Josh Ward as well, I think could get some really good opportunities at Hawthorn and could sort of press his claim. So, yeah, and I mean, Josh Rochelle as well has burst onto the scene for the Crows. So I would say Dacos, but it looks like we've got a pretty good crop coming through this year.
I think you're missing my pick there, Shorty.
Oh, who'd you got?
I'm going Horn Francis, mate, all the way. That's it.
Of course.
Yeah.
He was. He should have been right up there with Dacos. I should have. I've disrespected you today, mate. I've left Horn Francis out, and I've given you the wooden spoon.
I know, right? Oh man, I thought you were just leaving it open for me and just like say something. It's like, oh no, you just forgot. You know.
I forgot the big bull in there. Nah, he's looked bloody good, hasn't he? Like in the pre-season, bit of mix of forward, midfield.
He can do a lot, and for an 18-year-old kid, he's pretty special, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just make sure he's in your Supercoach team. I know you forgot him for the Rising Star, but just have him in there.
No, don't worry. I'm locking him in.
Okay, easy. So next up, we've got the Coleman. Who do you think takes the Coleman this year?
Yeah,
I'm going to ask another question first. Do you think we're going to go back to another year of 60 goals, or are they kind of finished?
I probably was thinking a total in the mid-60s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like if a forward can average 3.5 a game, it's kind of pretty good these days.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
With how tough it is.
And who's your pick?
I was thinking Jeremy Cameron.
Okay.
I think he didn't really have a great pre-season last year. He's really up and running this time around. Doesn't mind kicking a bag. You know, Hawkins hands a few off. Jezza doesn't mind putting them through himself. And maybe I'm not sure where he sort of sits on the actual ranks, but maybe slightly left field. Max King, you know, I feel like he could really boost his rating and kick a few more again. But yeah, how about you, mate?
I'm going to go for someone who has kicked 60 goals a few times in the past. I'm going to say Big Ben Brown. He's kind of most smoky for the Coleman this year. So he missed out a lot of games last year, but slotted straight back in the team. So if he becomes a bit more of that straightforward option, I know Tom McDonald shares a little bit more of that, and Melbourne love their midfielders who can kick goals. But I reckon he'd be good as a good choice. He might have a game where he kicks 5 off the bat. You know, they're not tagging him or whatever, and then slots a few through. So he's definitely my pick for the Coleman. I don't know what the odds are, but he's my pick.
Yeah, they'll get plenty of delivery down there, won't they?
Definitely. And crazy thing about Melbourne is just you stop one guy and there's 5 other guys that can kick the goal too. So
like Fritz kicked 7 at some point last year. You know, they can get you from anywhere, can't they? Yeah.
It's crazy. Sucks to be Sam Weedman stuck behind everyone else.
Yeah, I thought he would probably leave, but
he should have.
Yeah, he's staying patient, but I don't know if he's going to get a chance too soon.
I don't know if it was a case with him of like Melbourne wanted too much, You know, if they just wanted to give him away for a nothing pick, someone would have taken him. But, you know, not if you're wanting a first or second rounder for a guy that's in the VFL. It's just not going to happen.
Probably got a bit of a stalemate there. They would have had a few chats probably, but yeah, that's true.
Definitely. All right. So next up, we've got which team, looking at kind of the bottom half, will make the biggest jump into the top 8 this year? Who are you thinking?
Yeah, well,
like
I'd
on
have
the bottom,
to say
who's
Carlton.
going to move up? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Carlton were down at 13th, I think, last year. So I'm feeling like a rise to sort of 7th. Is that bottom half of the top 8 is probably half a chance. I feel like Fremantle as well. I know I mentioned them before, but I couldn't get them into the 8. But I'm pretty optimistic on what they can do. Just they've really got a lot going on through that midfield, and we know Sean Darcy gives them great service. If they can probably just maybe find a few more avenues to goal, then they could be anything. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I think I'll have to say probably Carlton as well. I don't think Hawks or Gold Coast or who else do we have? Gold Coast, Adelaide, North or Collingwood's really going to push it. But I think Carlton were pretty unlucky. They had a poor start to the year, and obviously they've swapped over the coach now. So, yeah, I think they're going to be my bolter. They just looked good. You know, they almost lost, but they just looked good against the team that isn't going to, you know, claw back as quickly as what happened. That they're going to win games, right?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, they look much more reliable, I suppose. I don't know. I've sort of watched them previously, and they've sort of seemed, I don't know, a bit flaky at times. Like, I don't know. I just watching them, I thought, I feel like I know what I'm going to get from this team this year. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching them live next Thursday. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, definitely. So next up, we've got what coaches do you think are under the pump for this year and may get sacked if they have poor performances? Who have you kind of got? If anyone.
Yeah, look, I mean, being a Cats fan, I think there's definitely some pressure on Chris Scott. I feel like his finals record just doesn't stack up, and Geelong may well, if they don't get over the edge this year, they might look to change full direction. I feel like Kenny Hinkley potentially could be in a similar boat. You know, there were some pretty brutal prelim final losses, weren't they, by both Geelong and Port? So there's always a bit of pressure that follows, and maybe without any real fault of his own. But Stuart Dew, you know, you've got Alistair Clarkson just lurking around in the background, and I don't know. I feel like Dew's just got him over the corner of his shoulder there, potentially taking his job.
Do you think that King re-signed because Clarko told him to stay at the club?
Yeah, well, that
like, I'm coming in next year, just stick around for a bit.
That's not a bad line of thing. Yeah, it could have. It could have, because I reckon Clarko's been making a few calls, just sussing it out. So yeah, potentially. I thought a 2-year deal was a bit strange. I thought. I
think they just tend to do it. I think they're desperate for some salary cap space, and they're really worrying about giving guys massive deals because they've just got, you know, they've got all those rookie players. You know, they've got the extended team of the rookie players. So at some point, those guys are going to have to get proper contracts or get released. So I think Took's on a big deal, but I think just in general they're a bit cautious about doing it, as opposed to some other clubs that, like Port's just re-signed a bunch of players for decent money. So kind of opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
I think I kind of agree with you. Last year and the year before, we've had a bit of turnover with coaches. But I think Stewie Dew especially is probably the only one. I know there was some talk of Hinkley a couple of years ago, like, if we don't make finals, then you're kicked out of the job. Yeah. But I think Stewie Dew's probably on his last legs, really. Maybe if they make the final series, then they'll stick around, you know, that kind of thing. But otherwise, see you later. And
yeah,
I think with coaches, especially being a North fan, but once you've had about 6 or 7 years at the same club, it's probably time to start thinking about a rejuvenation. just because people get stagnated in the same job, right? Unless you're top table all the time. People just in a normal job, sometimes you're there for too long. So,
yeah, I agree. Like, there's not too many success stories after a certain point. After that 7 or 8 year mark, it's probably very true. I think that's probably why, as a Cats fan, I would probably welcome some change if we didn't get the chocolates this year.
Yeah, you reckon Clarko might be on the phone? Be like, hey, come feature Geelong.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
the old enemy,
pick up, right?
Yeah, like Hawthorn and Geelong. Who would have ever thought they would cross paths? When Isaac Smith came through, it was like, oh, he's from the other side.
Definitely, right?
Yeah.
So just talking about headlines for this year, can you kind of predict a headline that you'd like to see in the AFL or something that you think will happen this year?
Yeah, a headline. The perfect headline would be Cameron kicks 6 and Dangerfield wins the Norm Smith medal
Cats
in the last day of September. But look, I think, a perfect headline for me, and it wouldn't. Well, it might be possible, but just amazing crowds, full stadiums, COVID-free year. That would be, that's obviously not exactly realistic, but I would love to see crowds back at the footy consistently, get that roar back. That's like the number one thing that I've missed, and I would love to see at the end of the year us talking about, how many fans came through the door.
You can't really beat a live crowd, can you? There's something to be said about watching it on the TV, but good live crowd, can't beat it.
Absolutely. We all love, getting a pizza delivered and sitting on the couch. It's nice and easy. But I agree, mate. There is nothing, particularly at the G, with a big crowd, there's not too much quite like that MCG definitely. Roar. Yeah. What about you? You got any headlines for me?
I had one. Obviously, Corns has been picked in the All-Australian selectors now. So I had one that was something like a forward actually wins an All-Australian. Instead of all the midfielders being selected as forwards, now actually have like a small forward being able to be selected. Because he's come in and said that. He's like, it's not going to happen anymore. I'm on the list. That's it. So I think that'd be actually something pretty good, Papley or Cameron or whoever comes up, really, being able to be selected. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard him on the radio mentioning that, and I reckon that would be good because we do often have, midfielders on half forward flank, and they're great players, but it's maybe not like a true reflection of the position.
No, definitely true. So how about we just talk some Supercoach now, and we'll try and make some Supercoach predictions. So what have we got up first? We've got here.
Sounds good.
We'll just do defence, mid, ruck, and then forward, just kind of how you read a team normally. In your defence, can you give us your predictions for the top 6 defenders? It doesn't have to be 1 to 6, but just guys who you think will be top 6.
Yeah, sure. It's always tough to narrow them down, but I would go Lloyd, Short, Stewart, Crisp, Whitfield, and Ridley.
Okay.
That's 6, I think. Yeah, I think I'd be happy with that. Yeah.
That's pretty good that's a pretty good defense. You'd be happy with that, like in a regular team, right?
Absolutely. Like I've tried to cram a few in there into my own team at the moment. Would you have any differences, or how's your backline going?
I think maybe if Hall's fit, I think he's pushing for a selection there. Maybe like a Zeeble as well. I don't really see his role changing. So as long as he can get the same kick-outs, get the same possessions down back, he's probably a push for that top 6 as well. Are there any guys you think may look to push their way in? Like, do you think a Hewitt or a Sicily, those kind of types will push their way in, or any of the midfielders that get DPP?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned Hewitt. He was definitely a guy that's sort of on the tip of my tongue there. I've been strongly considering him, to be honest. He's been so impressive, so it's hard to look past him. But yeah, I think I really do think Pendlebury will go back and just get that dual position status and just look really comfortable back there. And probably Andy McGrath as well. I mean, I feel like he looked really good down back and he's played it before. So I wouldn't be surprised if, there's probably 8 or 9 guys that are going to be pretty strong for that top 6. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll see as well kind of the general average of Supercoach defenders going up. They're scoring a little bit more. Inclusion from the midfielders getting DPP, but just kind of like Short and Ridley did it and Stewart did as well. They push so far up the ground that maybe they'll get a cheeky goal every so game, or, you'd be used for the transition a lot more than just being stuck in the back line that maybe we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, absolutely. And like intercept possessions and that, I think some of these guys just play that role so well, and they're so accomplished with it now that they've got it down pat. So we got no rookies down there, mate, but we got lots of guns.
Did you mention Rich?
I haven't mentioned him. No. Look,
where does he factor in there? Is he those maybe guys, or you just don't think it's going to happen?
Yeah, he's probably the next rung below, sort of with like a Luke Ryan and, a couple other fellas. But the one thing with Rich is like he averaged, what was it, sort of 107 last year. I mean, prior to that, he'd never really got close to anything like that. So he might be able to repeat it, but I don't know. He's been around so long and just kind of hovered between like high 80s, low 90s. So that's probably the only hesitancy I'd have with starting with him. Yeah.
Okay. So let's move into the midfield. So who are your top 8 mids this year? Obviously in any order.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm pretty comfortable with the top 4. I feel as if McRae, Steele, Oliver and Bontempelli, they're what did I say? Steele, McRae, Oliver and Miller, I should say, are the top 4 guys.
Okay.
And then I'd probably round it out with Bontempelli, Petrarca, Lockie Neal and Sam Walsh. I mean, obviously injury affected, so his total points probably won't be top 8, but I feel like once he's on the park, like his average is still going to be top 8 worthy. So, yeah. I just wonder when he gets out there.
Did you mention Parrish in there?
I didn't.
Where does he kind of fit?
Well, I was doing a little draft ranking the other day, and I think I had him about, might have been 10 or 11, I think, which, sounds a little disrespectful, doesn't it? But I probably had Tommy Mitchell and I actually had Callum Mills fairly high up too, and then sort of your Parrish, your Merritt, the duo from Essendon. So yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
What are your what sort of starting premium mids are you running with at the moment?
At the moment, I think I have kind of the 3 that a lot of people have. I'm trying to fit a 4th in, but just the back line's a bit of a mess. So you kind of have to stack it with an extra player. So I've got Tuke, McRae, and then Neil because he's so cheap. All should average, enough. And then looking to grab a Steele and Oliver kind of when their first price dip happens. So
yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, like as you say, you can't fit them all in. It's we got to give some love down back with the situation at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, right? Structure and rookies kind of dictate a lot this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really forced our hand. We've had no choice.
No, definitely, right? Are any of the guys who are sub 600K, you think any of them will push back into Uber Primo status again, or are they kind of stuck where they are?
Look, I feel like Andy Brayshaw is a guy that I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's a star. Whether he could explode or not, or whether he's just a gradual kind of a build, he might. I can see him averaging 111, 112.
Yep.
whether that's top 10, he might be just outside, depending how it falls. And look, risky one, but the sort of selection that can keep you up at night. But Paddy Cripps,
yeah, definitely.
I know he's not exactly. A few people have PTSD from Paddy Cripps selections in the past couple of years. Yeah, but a fully fit Cripps is one of the best players in the competition, and
definitely
on the evidence he's shown us so far, he looked good. So he's well below that 600K, and I just wonder what he's going to do.
What's your thoughts on Josh Kelly? Do you think he'll be able to, injury free, obviously? Do you think he'll be able to push into that kind of range again?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, prior to last year, he'd averaged, I think, 4 years of between 111 and 117. So, and I think the only thing that kind of stopped him being similar was that sort of below average start to the year. I think the first 6 rounds last year, Leon Cameron thought it'd be a fun idea to just play him on a half-forward flank. And
why not, right?
Yeah, why not? He should have given me a call because I started with him, and he was just another thing that killed my team last year. But no, I think so, mate. When he's fit in his preferred position, yeah, he's 110 minimum, really. Yeah.
Okay. So just talking about the rucks now, are Gawn and Grundy still going to be the top 2, or who's going to push them out?
I think the rucks is, we've got to include Sean Darcy in the conversation, but I think Gawn and Grundy is the way to go, just with the circumstances this year. I think with Sean Darcy, he's had one super premium year, and then, a couple of niggles. Whenever I read the word Achilles associated with any sort of niggle, I get a little bit worried.
Yeah, definitely.
And he looked great in the pracky game, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if he just, maybe has a quiet round 1 on round 2 and then is just back to dominating. But
yeah,
I guess I probably personally feel just a little safer just going with Gawn and Grundy, who have looked great. And look like they've had good pre-seasons. Is that the way you're looking to go as well?
Yeah. So I had Darcy for the longest time, and then just like article after article of, he's hurt his hand now, he's hurt his leg now, he's hurt his foot, he's hurt his head, he's not going to play, and it's just like even just not having the headaches throughout the year. I understand injuries, but I don't want to have to worry about is my ruck going to play every every week this year. So. I think I can agree with you. Gawn and Grundy was locked for so long, but I think maybe now it's the 1 to 3 best and not just the 2. Maybe with Nick Nat a bit further back, but not really, not there yet.
Yeah. Like Darcy could still come out and go bang, but if he did get injured, we'd be kicking ourselves if we knew all that info and started with him. So
yeah, definitely.
I'll watch on. Yeah.
Who's your prediction for the biggest trap this year? So a guy that maybe looks juicy but's going to be injured, or everyone's going to jump on him and think, oh, yeah, I'll keep him and trade him up later, but it just doesn't work out. Who's kind of your prediction for that player this year?
Yeah, look, I feel like...
Does his name start
with P? Part of me
P?
sort of says, I know he's fairly... No, he does. But I was going to say Jared Berry, actually. Okay. Which is...
Well,
and look...
No, I was meaning in the ruck.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, look, he was on our radars for a long time, wasn't he? But I think everyone's just about cooled on it. But I would say Berry only because I feel like the midfield can sometimes be a difficult place to take a mid-price risk. And some, there's a lot of confidence in Matty Rowell, and I think he'll have a great year as well. But it is very hard to nail a mid-pricer, particularly in the midfield. So that might be something to think about. And I think, I feel like the ruck department, if you don't go set and forget, whichever way you go otherwise, could trap you. Just because, if you get that wrong, it's very hard to try and catch up because there's like 2 or 3 players that you want to get. And I know from experience that they don't dip all too often. So you're burning trades like crazy just to try and catch up. But otherwise, I'm pretty optimistic on, like, you know, guys like Hewitt and like even Will Brody and that. I'm just interested to see how it looks with Fife. But is there a guy that you're like, nah, he's a trap?
I think maybe like a Caldwell is probably the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Like going back to the rucks, I'm probably not going to pick a Wits. Obviously, we've spoken about set and forget, which is the right way to go, because I've had that time when you've had to triple trade to get a premium in the ruck, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But I think guys like your Caldwell, he went really big in the preseason, but only when Merritt was out. And I think kind of our talking about watching the games and analysing, you know, what's happening because of this, it can be really important to do it that way. So you kind of have to realise, I've seen some teams with him and they're like, yeah, he scored 100. He did really well. It's like there was no one else big in the team that was playing, right? So, they're probably my only picks. Maybe like a Brody, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think there's a few blokes around that 200K mark in the forward line that could either be ripping picks or could really hurt you. But at the moment, it's hard to get a read. So,
and we saw that last year too, right? Like there was quite a few guys, especially in the forward line, Uzebel, Impey, Tex, all those guys that they could have been crappy picks, but they turned out all right. So maybe it's the same this year.
Yeah, I hope so. And then, you know, we see like I said earlier in the session, like Jordan Clark, Hayden Young, again, they were sort of, I think, 200, 250, and they didn't work out so well. So that it's fraught with danger sometimes, but hopefully it pays off for us.
No, definitely true. So just speaking on the forward lines now, who have you got kind of as your top 6 forwards? And jumping on that as well, do you think there'll be any big players that get DPP this year?
I reckon Dunkley is looking like a clear number 1.
Yep.
And I think Duncan and Taranto are going to be, you know, absolute locks. They just might not be guys to start with. That's all. Just due to one injury and maybe Taranto positionally, you know. I feel like Dustin Martin's got to be in there. Zach Butters, I feel, could be in there. And then it's really hard to say. There's a small part of me that says even Stephen Cornelio could come out and go gangbusters, you know? And we could keep him all year. And then you can sort of throw a blanket over guys like Heaney, DeGoey, Thomas, Bailey, Treloar, English, you know? So,
how do you
and
feel
dual
about
position. My old friend Heaney, I love him. I really do. I guess that Papley injury just, you know, saw him play a bit more forward. I know Franklin was out too at the time, but I just would have, look, if he came out and played mid again, bang, he would have been in my team. But I just got a little bit of cold feet, mate. I got a little bit.
I think that was the same for a lot of us. I know in that preseason game, Longmire stood back and Dean Cox, I don't know if you noticed, but he was the coach for that game as part of their developmental program. You know, they give them some extra games to coach yourself. But I agree, like if that's the option, he scored a couple of goals. It was against the crappy North team, but you wouldn't pick him over Butters, and you're probably only going to have one of them in your side to start with. So
and the more I sort of looked at my team, the more I thought, well, I probably am better off, you know, spending or going down to a Brody, a Cherry, a Ralph Smith, whichever way you want to cut it. And like we've said a few times, spending that coin down back. So at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if we, you know, Papley comes back in round 8, Heaney's in the guts, and all of a sudden, okay, we've got to have him. But
definitely,
maybe not to start with.
And who do you think will get DPP in the forward line this year? Do you have any like predictions who will get it?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this one. I couldn't land on anyone that I felt would be sort of super relevant. I think Heaney and Butters, I think right now are pure forwards. I think they'll
they'll
clearly
get mid. Yeah.
Yeah,
but not really forward line.
Yeah, like that doesn't really change it to us. I mean, about a month ago, I thought Nat Fyfe might get the F next to his name, but now he comes out and says, "Nope, I'm playing.
That's it.
I'm playing mid."
Yeah.
Bontempelli spends a little bit of time, but is it enough? I don't know. So I didn't at this stage. I couldn't say anyone with a great deal of confidence. Did you have anyone in mind? Or?
I'm hoping Bont gets it. I haven't planned to pick anyone who gets DPP in like my forward starting line. Plan ahead for it, but I'm hoping he gets it. With Bruce out, he seems to be lining up a little bit more in the forward line. Just because they need that market taker there. But thinking about it, we might get a couple of ruckmen that have DPP. Maybe not the main ones, but definitely those guys who are only selectable as a midfielder. If they're lining up second to a main ruck, they're going to be lining up in the forward line, right? So we could get a Mario Chol or Rowan Marshall or someone, just depending on how they play.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I think you're right with, if Ryder comes back, we know Marshall's going to play some time forward. So that's a good point. Yeah, it could be definitely one that we like.
I think we'll get the most changes in round 6, just because the sample size is a lot smaller. But the Bont's not going to play 12 games of 35% forward, but he might do it for the first few. I don't know if you caught it, but Max Gawn did line up in the forward line for a cheeky 40% in their Melbourne game. Yeah. So I'm hoping, but it is not going to happen. So
that it felt just experimental, didn't it?
Oh, definitely.
rather than anything else.
Hey, super coaches would love it, right? So
yeah, wouldn't we?
So a bit of a prediction for next year. Who do you think will be the most expensive player in 2023?
Yeah, I think I probably landed on Brody Grundy with this one, actually. Yeah, so I just felt that he's just going to really return to his absolute best and average in the high 120s. And he probably has said himself that he really didn't like the hub life. But of all people, it really just didn't. We all handle those situations different. So I think back into some normal life, I think he could be the top scorer and therefore the number $1 player for 2023. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go a little bit more left field. I'm going to say Big Took Miller. He's going to be my pick. Yeah. I reckon he's not going to have many games where he drops a stinker. So anything sub 100. I think he's going to be the main picker at Gold Coast. And, I'm betting on a 130 plus average this year almost. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
we saw on the weekend how dominant he was. And, he still made mistakes that game. So, if he's the only guy getting the ball, why not?
Yeah. I mean, he even kicked a couple of goals, which,
definitely.
If my memory serves me correct, he wasn't a noted goal kicker as much last year. So, if he adds that to his game, goal a game or something,
pretty good.
Look out.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you don't start him, you're in a bit of trouble this year. A lot of people haven't, but
yeah, and I'm one of those, so I might have to
do a sneaky steal to Took trade somewhere,
that could be, that could be potentially an option. Yeah.
Okay. So just before we finish up today, do you have any advice for people doing Supercoach this year? So anything that your vast experience of playing and commentating, that kind of thing, that watch out for or don't watch out for this year?
Yeah, I think I would say still value the guns and rookies approach. I think with this rookie panic situation, I've seen, quite a few more mid-priced options come into vein, which, they are necessary at times, but still try and get a good balance and make sure you got 10 or 11 genuine premiums that you can bank on. And then I'd probably say just trade-wise, we've got 35 this year, but I'd still really respect them. I think we've got more than we've ever had before, but I still think they're just as important. We've got no idea what could happen with isolations, and I I get the sense people might burn through them a bit quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you can still treat them how they should be, you might get an advantage later in the year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. And obviously have fun too, right? Like,
absolutely.
If you're not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah, well, that's right. Keep the banter up. You got to have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
Enjoy those leagues with your mates and that type of thing. Because if you do lose sight of the fun element, it can be a pretty frustrating game at times.
Oh, definitely.
Which I've found out sometimes.
Yeah. I think you've just joined one of my cash leagues too, or one of the cash leagues that I've been part of this year. So that should be some good fun throughout the year.
Yeah, nice. I didn't realise you're in. Yeah, nice one. Yeah. That'll be fun. Yeah, good. Bit of bragging rights on the line.
Yeah, bragging rights, definitely. So what have you got coming up? I guess let us know kind of what's in the works between now and start of the season. And what are you looking to do extra? I know you're making weekly videos like for your team. Are you doing anything extra throughout the year?
Yeah, so probably like the next, like leading up to the season, I'm just smashing out the videos, trying to do everything I want. I'm doing these videos where I go through every sort of relevant player, I call it. So if they're in a couple of percent of teams, 10% of teams, like I'll just screen record and just kind of have my 2 cents worth on it. I've got obviously a team reveal and going to just talk about a few of those top end rookies as well, like Brody and Cherry and that. And then for the season, pretty much stock standard. I'll have my team, how they went over the weekend, a video throughout the week. And I'm looking to go do my live sessions as well, which are always a bit of fun. So yeah, I think, and look, I might do a footy tips video. I had a couple of people because, I don't know, a few people were like, oh, you should do a footy tipping video. So if I have, that's a really quick one, but yeah, that's probably roughly what's on the menu. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. No, I appreciate your comments and stuff when you get involved. So it's good. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks again for coming on the channel today. Obviously, really appreciate it, and hopefully we can do some more of this again during the year.
Yeah, absolutely not. I appreciate you getting me involved, mate, and we'll definitely talk throughout. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Shorty. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. Cheers, guys.